What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is it's a big number. I forgot to look. Part 63 of my reviewing and ranking Frank Zappa's albums. The guitar solos within Frank Zappa's albums, within the context of that album, and then ranking those albums based on guitar solos only. Absolutely free. I've already done like the big, massive ones. I'm now going to go through the discography in chronological order and fill in the gaps for the ones that really only have one or two solos. And then I got a couple big ones coming. Hot Rat sessions probably next week. Halloween. Still got a couple Halloweens to go, 81 and 73. But we'll drop those at some point. But anyways, absolutely free. Second album. Only three guitar solos. I'm counting sort of the re-release, which has Big Leg Emma and Why Don't You Do Me Right, because Why Don't You Do Me Right has a short little gnarly guitar solo in there, just a bunch of gnarly twisted notes that is pretty interesting. So 3 solos. I'm not going to put the list up when I'm done because it's only 3, but I will show you where this ranks among all the others. 3 solos. And I think for this album, like I don't listen to this album because of the guitar solos, so there is one pretty epic jam that is pretty important to this album. But I think all 3 of them are absolutely fantastic. Number 3 would be the aforementioned Why Don't You Do Me Right. Just this short, little, gnarly, little, twisted, little, awesome little piece of just music. Yeah, it's a burst of a solo. Just you blink and it's gone, but it's there. I mean, the entire song's like 2.5 minutes long. And once we get like 73, Frank doesn't play a solo shorter than 2.5 minutes. For the most part, it's not a rule. But yeah, nice little quick little burst of guitar. Number 3. Number 2 is Status Back Baby, which is about 40 seconds of twisted little burst of teen pop gnarled guitar happiness amidst probably one of Frank's greatest songs, probably one of his most like underappreciated, just because Status Back Baby, I think, is sort of the linchpin of Absolutely Free. Second track on side B, it's the most straightforward. It's the most like, oh, 50s love songs, high school, elementary, I recognize this, but then it's also completely twisted. And after Frank's done fooling around on guitar for like 40 seconds or so, we go into a little bit of Stravinsky before we go back into the song, just to make it weird. It's not like the greatest solo in the world, but it works so perfectly in the context of this song, in the context of this album. Yeah, it's like a little burst of joy for 40 seconds, 37 seconds of joy. That little Status Back Baby solo. And then clearly, number 1, we know it casually as the Colony Vegetable solo, because from this point on, this would essentially just be part of Colony Vegetable, and we wouldn't break it up by names. Frank at least put it on releases when he released it on Just Another Band. But we have track number 6, Invocation and Ritual Dance of the Young Pumpkin. Some little Stravinsky references probably in that title. This is just an epic, epic jam in the middle of a Colony Vegetable. Soft Cell Conclusion. The following track is essentially the back half of Colony Vegetable. It's essentially a duet with Gardner, Bunk Gardner. I'm assuming is playing what I think is a flute, some sort of woodwind. It's essentially, they're just kind of going at it, duet, kind of dancing around each other and weaving around each other for close to 7 minutes. The rhythm is very krautrockish. You can see why German bands heard the Mothers and were influenced to do what they did in the late 60s and early 70s. That this is essentially like a proto krautrock type groove. And it's just hypnotic. It's just relentless. It just goes on. And the way Gardner, I'm assuming it's Gardner and Zappa just kind of dance around each other and go like that. And it's beautiful. It is just on the debut album, we had the opening song had a solo, Hungry Freaks Daddy, right? Just really cool. And then we get nothing else for the most part. And then here we get this kind of epic for late 60s, latter half of the 60s, 7-minute just jam with this awesome rhythm that's just kind of just krautrocking it for a while. It's exhilarating and it's fun and it's just really, really neat. just absolutely makes for an absolutely fascinating album, because then on the second half of the album, you don't have anything really to compare to it, but you do have like Brown Shoes Don't Make It, which is like this 7-minute multi-part suite mini opera Bohemian Rhapsody for freaks type thing. So this album, absolutely free, underappreciated, one of his greatest. But yeah, the Invocation and Ritual of the Young Pumpkin, which is Ritual Dance of the Young Pumpkin, which is essentially the Colony Vegetable Jam, clearly number one on this. Just an absolutely fantastic, fantastic improvisational jam moment with Frank soloing and Gardner going at him with him and the band just laying it down. Just beautiful. Beautiful. So that's it. Why Don't You Do Me Right, number 3. Status Bad Baby, number 2. Invocation and Ritual Dance of the Young Pumpkin, number 1. It's all three solos, each of them contributing to the overall effectiveness of this album. Where would I rank the solos, though? I have it all the way up at 42, which does kind of feel low. But without those solos, I still think this is an absolutely stupidly fantastic album. And really, if you're going to just compare the solos, the Status Bag Baby and the Why Don't You Do Me Right, those are little blips. Those are just like squiggly little, but they work perfectly in the context. But if you isolate them as solos, I don't know how well they compare to like stuff on One Size Fits All or Zappa New York or the stuff that's above them on the list. But I do really, really enjoy them. And I do think they're one of the many, many aspects of what makes an absolutely perfect album. And I'll say this, Frank was anti, unnatural stimulants. I don't know the word. He didn't like recreational chemistry. Absolutely Free is 100%, whether it's on the headphones or just in the stereo or whatever, one of Frank's best recreational chemistry albums by far. I just think it is just, the first half alone is just perfect for that. And then you get to the second half and it just gets weirder. Yeah, great album. Fantastic. But that's with the solos. That's where I would put it at 42, which does seem kind of low considering how much I love it. But I'm just looking at the solos. Just the solos. 42. All right, that's all I got. I managed to stretch 3 solos to nearly 8 minutes. Let me know what you think of this album, of these solos, things I messed up on, things I missed, things you want to point out about the genius that is Frank Zappa and Absolutely Free. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things. And go listen to this album, man. If you haven't revisited this album in a while, I think it's one of his most underappreciated. Like, it is a masterclass in being a musical genius. Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.